Happy New Year from this cozy corner of the internet. I hope you're doing well and 2025 is treating you so good, or at least as you deserve. If you're not cozy, I recommend getting cozy. Get yourself your favorite drink, your favorite water cup, or both, as I have, because we just need multiple drinks around here. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Danielle, and I am the booktuber, YouTuber person behind the channel. So thanks for being here, or thanks for coming back. In this video, I'm going to be talking about 2024 and my hopes and intentions for 2025. I hesitate to call them goals because it's hard to know what a year is going to hold. Wow, look at me rhyming. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to have book chapters below. I am going to have a screen share of my 2024 stats. I will be utilizing Storygraph for that data. So yeah, it's going to be a good time. I'm also going to have just some like other random things built into this video because this just feels like the right place to talk about some of those things. So I hope you are cozy. Like I said, if you're not, get cozy or don't. I can't force you to literally do anything. I'm going to dive on in. Before I begin talking about my 2024 year, I just want to say that I will not be posting a specific December wrapped video because it was a lot of rereads. And I just don't feel like it's necessary. It just isn't. And some of the rereads are rereads I've already done this year, which I don't think I had started posting on here yet, but it doesn't matter. It's where we're at. I don't plan on doing that because I'm doing this video, and so I wanted to put my energy in here. So hello, welcome. I'm gonna jump into 2024. And I'm gonna start us off with some reflections. I will have the screen share in a moment of like actual stats, but wow, this year was crazy. I came into the year, this was the first year I did not set a 100 book goal since I started doing 100 book goals back in 2020. And because I thought I would not have time. I gave birth to my daughter in January, and so I knew that babies take up a lot of time. They're a lot of work in a good way. Like, it's so worth it, but it is a lot of work. Oh my gosh, my heat just went off. I'm so sorry if you're hearing that. I hope the mic is like helping. Anyways, squirrel brain. We came into 2024 very pregnant. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep it low effort. And I even like made a post about it on my Bookstagram that is like severely neglected. Thank you for being over there if you're over there. It is neglected. I'm so sorry. But I was like, this is a year for no pressure goals. I did have some goals of like wanting to read new authors and read newly released books and just things like that. And I was able to hit all of them except for like the goal that I set to read 12 books that I previously purchased. So I felt really good about my reading this year. I even read 144 books. Yeah, I 200%ed my goal. So I had originally set a goal of 72 books and I doubled it. I think I hit my goal back in like July. It was a really good year for reading. I didn't have any crazy slumps. And when I did have slumps, I just enjoyed my rereads. And like none of my rereads put me in a place of, oh, I can't go on. I cannot function. I did have aspects of the year where I definitely read less, but I kind of always was reading this year. I'm not mad about it. I will say, just a little disclaimer, I am an audiobook girly through and through. So these were a lot of audiobooks. They were a lot. And my local library is queen. So those are major disclaimers. I definitely would not have been able to physically read 144 books this year, but audio definitely was where it was at. I enjoyed a lot that I read to the point where I just really wanted to be able to talk about reading a little bit more. I just really wanted to like make a community of book people. And I feel like there are around 100. It ebbs and flows because it's YouTube, but it's so fun. Like, I'm so thankful that you're here if you're a subscriber. If you're not and you want to be, that'd be great, but like no pressure. I just really enjoy talking about books. So even if you're not a subscriber, I'd love to just hear your thoughts about books and let's chat in the comments because that sounds like so much fun to me. So that was 2024. It just was a good year. I read a lot of books. I started this booktube and I'm just having a good time and I'm doing it for me and that feels really good. So those are my reflections. Now I'm going to jump into stats, and this is where editing me is going to slide in a screen recording voiceover of something I haven't done yet. So, okay, so this is my first time doing this kind of setup. So we're going going to jump through my actual 2024 reading stats. This is mostly like the actual data. I'm not going into too many of the books. There are some book aspects, but this is just kind of like the numbers. So to kick us off, I read 144 books, which was 200% of my goal. For my pages, I had a goal of 5,000 pages, which was a fun page thing to set, and I actually was able to read over that to almost 8,500 pages. And then for hours, I read over 1,000 hours of audiobooks, which was really interesting. It was like 1350, a little over. That was what was really cool about Storygraph, is I got to track these different like data points. Kind of some little sneak peeks into what type of reading I did. My average length of book was 372 pages, and it took me around 3 days to finish. I don't know if that's technically accurate. There were certain books I was reading at the same time, and I didn't always update my start dates. I always updated when I finished them. So this year I really do want to try and be better about tracking how long it takes me to read a book. That'll be really interesting to see. And then the longest book was the third Crescent City book that came out. And then the shortest was All by Myself, which, if you watched my last video, you know how I feel. And then over here at the bottom, the genres I spent the most time with, none of these surprised me whatsoever. I am a big romance, fantasy, mystery / thriller person, and I do enjoy young adult quite a bit. So none of that surprised me. I read the entire Bridgerton series back in May, so romance was just there. And my most read authors, this was fun to see because there are authors on here that like people don't know about, and that's really fun. So Kelly Armstrong, that top one. So there was a reread that I did. I reread a series earlier this year, and then I reread it again recently, which was a lot of fun, but that made her books like be so many. So it's just like quick, digestible reads, very easy. They're like cozy mystery adjacent. Not quite cozy though, but like an easy mystery series. So I really enjoyed those by Kelly Armstrong. And then Eva Gates, that is cozy mystery. It is set in the Outer Banks. And my family, we go there pretty often because we're located on the East Coast and it's not too far for us. And the Outer Banks cozy mystery was so fun. It was Nag's Head specifically, which is where we usually go to. Then we got Sarah J. Maas, that checks out. Julia Quinn, that is the author of the Bridgerton series. Megan Miranda is another mystery writer. Rick Riordan. I did a reread of the Percy Jackson series this year, which was always a good time. Allie Hazelwood, I like personally discovered her this year. Not, I knew she existed, but I never really read any of her books because I was judging the Raylo fanfic that is Love Hypothesis, and then I read Love Hypothesis, and I was like, oh, this is great. I actually read Bride this year. That was my first Allie Hazelwood, which absolutely wild. And then we got Leigh Bardugo. I have been reading her backlist, which has been really fun to do. I went down the like Hellbent, Ninth House, familiar place. Loved. It's just fun to read something that is just a little bit different. Mary E. Pearson, I read The Courting of Bristol Keats as an arc, and then I started a reread, and I actually read all of her books except for Vow of Thieves, which I'm currently listening to. And I think that will end up being my first read / reread of 2025. And Stephanie Meyer, Twilight. Need I say more? So those are my most read authors. And then my last, these are some tags that I did in Storygraph, which is something I wanted to kind of like highlight. I felt this was a lot easier to track things than what Goodreads does, where you have to do the shelves. The tags just made it so much easier. And so I was tracking like new to me authors, so first read by author. That helped me like see, okay, I read about 31 new authors this year. That's fantastic. You'll hear what my goal is for 2025 soon, but that was great. And then recent releases, that was something I wanted to track. And then because of my import over from Goodreads, the reread function is a little wonky. And so I personally was tracking rereads. So there's some things I want to set up for that. And then Read Aloud Provide, that is, there's some books that we do read alouds for our daughter, and that just, it's a fun time. And then ARC, that's self-explanatory. Those are books that I read as ARCs, but those are some of the stats. I really enjoyed using Storygraph, and Storygraph is definitely winning the game when it comes to breaking down what we're reading. Welcome back to Past Me or Current Me or whatever you want to call it. I hope you enjoyed the screen recording of my 2024 stats. I really enjoyed my stats. I've already kind of looked at them, so I'm not like, I know what they are. I just haven't like walked through them yet, but I have because you've seen them. Yes. So I hope you enjoyed that. I would love to connect on Storygraph. I will leave that below. And I feel like that segues really well into kind of as I'm moving forward, how I'm going to be tracking. I'm going to talk about my 2025 like intentions and hopes here in a second. But I feel like this is a good spot to say that I will not be utilizing Goodreads going forward in the way that I have. I am not a fan of Amazon for certain reasons. I know there is nuance to this conversation, 100%, and people can only afford what they can afford, and they want to support authors, and like a lot of independent authors are on KU. There's a lot to this conversation, so I know that, but for me, my goal is to not support Amazon if I can avoid it. However, I do know that a lot of debut authors, a lot of new releases, they get their leg to stand on from Goodreads. And so I will still be using Goodreads, but I will only be using Goodreads to do my ratings for ARCs, which I do provide star ratings for ARCs, especially for newer authors and authors that I really want to support, that I feel like it will actually make a difference, if that makes sense. There are authors that I love that I know that every review is helpful, especially because they may be like a mid-list author, or even like some of their books are more like well-known, but others aren't. Regardless, there are authors I want to support, and there are authors here on AuthorTube that I want to support. So I will be utilizing Goodreads for that purpose. However, I will not be selecting a Goodreads challenge for this year. This will be the first year. I haven't done it since 2017. And a part of me is like, oh, kills me a little bit. But I just no longer feel like I personally can continue to utilize it. I think it's very important to vote with your dollar, all those things, and also like support platforms that you feel aligned with. So all to say, I will be fully moving over to Storygraph. I will be tracking different things. I have some of my intentions that I've talked about, I've created as actual challenges on Storygraph, which is really cool. Goodreads literally tried to do it after they did it, so lol. But I will be only using Storygraph, so I would love to like build a better community over there. I really like, even when I do my ARC reviews, I can give trigger warnings, or content warnings, not even trigger warnings. More in-depth, like, hey, this is a fast-paced book, this is a medium-paced book, and those kinds of things, or if it's plot-driven or character-driven, because there's some romance books that, like, it is all about the characters, and that's okay. Like, it is a platform that I feel like you can use it as a reader so much better. So that is where I'm going to be putting my support this year heavily. I already was utilizing it this year, but not as much as I could have been. I also really struggled with trying to update into places like what I was reading, and I would like to actually track how long it takes me to do certain reading. But when I'm doing rereads, or when I'm doing like 2 platforms that I'm trying to update, it's a lot of effort to try and update in 2 places. So that's another reason. It's just I'm tired of it, and if I'm going to get rid of one, I'm going to get rid of Goodreads. And that's the tea on that. Another thing we all like to talk about are hopes and intentions for a new year. Yes, we all like to talk about it. It's just a thing. We can accept it. There's just something beautiful about the start of a year. It just is. There's this fresh startness. It's like Mondays are beautiful because it's the start of a new week. The new year is beautiful. The start of a new month is beautiful. It just is. Now, I'm really great at making plans. I'm not always great about following through. And so I have tried to shift my mindset. It's like crazy windy outside. I love it. I've tried to shift my mindset when it comes to the New Year resolution thing. I don't really align with it anymore. I've tried to align myself with the seasons more. And so winter is very much a time of rest for me, and it is a time of renewal and just allowing things to sit. Now that doesn't align with what will allow me to get maybe some clicks on this video, which isn't really the goal, but I do want to grow a community here, and so I am setting hopes and intentions when it comes to reading for 2025. Personally, I really try to not set actual like goals or hopes for the year until closer to spring, because the winter season is just a time for rest. Like the trees get to rest, I get to rest. Nature gets to rest, I get to rest. I think there's something so spiritual about that. Anyways, another tangent that I will not go on. With all that being said, I did set my hopes and intentions for my more reading things and for this channel. So I have my little planner over here. So that's what I'm referencing, because my brain likes to buffer and go in a million different squirrel areas, and it's going to keep me on track this much. But I'm going to just kind of go through my list. Kicking us off, I would like to read 72 books that are new to me. So that is what I'm going to set as my not rereads. I'm still going to track my rereads this year and just like see how many books I read, but I do want to read 72 new to me books. I really love going through backlists of authors that I love, or reading a series that I've started or gotten into. There's just a lot of different ways that I approach finding books that are new to me. And then within that, I would also like to read 20 new to me authors. So this means that I haven't read anything on their backlist. I haven't read anything in a series, unless it's like a weird, this person wrote one book in a series, this person wrote another, I don't know. It happens. Last year I set it at 12 and I like surpassed that super early. And so I really would like to focus again on reading new to me authors. And this just kind of like forces me out of my comfort zone. And then I have 2 hopes and intentions that are similar but different. So they will be counted separately, but I want to read 12 newly released books. And I count newly released as within the current year or the year before. So in 2025, if I read a book that was published in 2024, I'm still counting it in a newly released book. Because especially at the beginning of the year, there's going to be like some ebb and flows with that. So just that's how I reference it. And then a separate goal is to read 12 arcs. I have really been enjoying being on NetGalley and reading some arcs. And so I want to like be intentional and actually read 12 arcs, not just getting the audio arcs. I love a good audio arc, but I do want to read 12 arcs. I'm really enjoying my Kindle right now. It's been very helpful. And along with like the reading aspect is I would like to read 15,000 pages. You would have seen my stats from my screen share of how many actual pages I talk through, like the difference between hours and pages. But this year I really want to stretch myself to reading 15,000 pages. I want to just use my Kindle more, read my physical books more. Not that I have anything against audiobooks at all, but I just want to kind of slow down my reading a little bit, because I consumed books this year and I just want to slow down. I think slowing down is good. And then lastly, for reading specific hopes and intentions, is I would like to participate in a no buy 25 with an asterisk. And that asterisk is I really don't want to purchase any more physical books before unhauling or reading my physical books that I own currently. Now, me and my husband both purchase books. So I'm specifically thinking of the books that I have purchased with the intention for me to read it. Like there's a book over here, or a few books over here. They're his books. And I'm not counting those. Like I'm not trying to, every book that we own, I either need to unhaul it or read it. No, because we read different books. And we read a lot of the same books too, but I'm not always in the mood for the same books he's in the mood for, if that makes sense. So that is my goal. I have some books that I really want to read, and I keep just putting them off. And I want to either unhaul them or read them. I just think I don't need to add to my collection until then. I really like to keep things nice and clean, whatever. This will not include Kindle books because I get digital credits because I do the no rush whenever I do purchase from Amazon, and you get like digital credits, and I like to support authors that way by purchasing like books. So that is the only thing that it won't really count towards because it's not taking up physical space in my home. So those are my very reading specific goals. Okay, now that I've talked about my reading specific intentions, hopes, goals, whatever you want to call it, I'd love to talk about my YouTube hopes. They're definitely hopes because I love doing this. This has been so much fun. I also am very aware of the fact that I have a full time job that has its own ebbs and flows in terms of busyness. And also, like, my family takes the number one priority in my life. Like, my partner is number one, my daughter is a close second. They are the most important things to me. And so, if YouTube is impacting my family, YouTube is going to be the thing that I don't do because I am going to read. Wouldn't doubt we reading. So I do have hopes for this channel, for what I hope to do. And I kind of just want to talk about them because I want some accountability, because there is a level of I want to stretch myself to do these things. There will be certain circumstances where if it impacts my like home life, that's different. But in terms of like actually just doing it, this is where I want the accountability. So to kick us off, I want to just have fun. I know, lame, right? No, I'm just kidding. I think I want it to be fun. This is going to be my litmus of if I'm not having fun, why am I doing it? I'm not making money here. This is fun. This is fun for me to talk about books and to chat and to talk in the comments with people I never would have met otherwise. And so if it's not impacting my family and I'm having fun, let's keep rolling. You know, that's kind of where I'm standing. For real, for real. I would love to post 3 times a month in a long form format. I would love to do weekly. I just don't think it's realistic, and I want to set myself up for success. I want to post six short form videos a month to YouTube. I kind of have a dual purpose for this, and that is I can then post them over on my Bookstagram too, because it's neglected. So 6 times a month, short form content. I would love to participate in at least one readathon. There are so many, and there were so many that I wanted to do. I even signed up for one where they had like a Google form and a Discord and everything. And then I had one of the busiest times of my work life of the year happen. So it didn't happen. I still read that month, but to then talk about it on here and participate in the community that was doing the readathon, it just didn't happen. So I want to do a readathon with the asterisk of actually engage with the community that's doing the readathon as well, because I just think that's fun. That's the whole community, you know? And then speaking of community, this is a very big hope. I'm going to say it, and it's going to be a little silly, but I'd love to grow to 500 subscribers. That would be awesome. That would be so fun, because that would just have some validation of that community aspect. And I want it to be people who want to be here and want to engage and want to talk about books and give recs and just that kind of thing. I mean, anyone could hang out. I'm not going to begrudge a subscribe. But I think it would be a great indicator for me about the community. But this is like the lowest priority goal. It's still something that I hope for, so I am going to say it. But my purpose here is not to be this crazy big booktuber. My purpose here is to have fun and to grow a community. And so that's why I want you here. And I want to talk about books. So talk about books with me, please. So I really appreciate you sticking around, hanging out, listening to me ramble about books for this past year and book goals, intentions, hopes, Booktube hopes, intentions for 2025. I would love to hear yours. I'd love to hear about your 2024, your biggest disappointments, your best reads, because I'd love to add to my TBR. Thank you. I would love to hear that. And then for 2025, if you have hopes and intentions and goals for the year, what are they? Do they align with anything that I'm doing? Did something I say spark something that you want to do? I'd just love to hear it because I think that you guys are great. So thanks for watching this far. I think you're awesome. I plan on doing a little catalog of my physical books that I own that I have not read soon. So be on the lookout for that. And I will see you on the next video. Happy reading.